Hello, welcome to Government 2302, American and Texas government mixed together. I'm Dr. Lynn Brink and I will be your instructor from a distance. I'm making a series of these small mini lectures just to talk with you about certain issues that you're going to come up against as you read through your textbook, and I certainly want you to read that textbook and work through my Poli-Sci Lab as you're working through this. But today we're going to talk about the U.S. Constitution, and I have this gigantic pointer here. I'm going to look at the book right here. Here's your textbook right here. And in the appendix of the textbook you will find the Constitution of the United States. If you'll notice here on the board, I've written that the U.S. Constitution was written in 1787 and approved by 1789. And in this document, which we still use, it's a wonderful model constitution for us, they divided power of government into two parts. This is called federalism, where some powers go to the national government and some powers go to the states. Today we're going to talk about the national government. We'll talk about the states a little later. But we're going to say and see that the Constitution makers divided the national government into three branches of government, each which would check and balance the other. You will find their work in Article 1, 2, and 3 in the Constitution. Article 1 deals with the legislative branch, Article 2 the executive branch, and Article 3 the judicial branch of the national government. Today we're going to talk about Article 1, the legislative branch, and we're going to talk a little bit about Congress as we read through the Constitution. So I hope that you'll get your book or get a copy of the Constitution and follow along with me, because I won't talk about absolutely everything. We're going to do this in two parts because this article is probably the longest article in the Constitution, although you'll find it very workable. If you notice as we read along Article 1, it says all legislative power shall be vested in a Congress of the United States, which shall consist of a Senate and a House of Representatives. So that's what Congress is. It's a House and a Senate, and this word is very important to know, bicameral. That means two houses, a House and a Senate. So this is the Congress of the United States. The next part of the Constitution immediately goes to a description of the House of Representatives. Who's in the House of Representatives? It's composed of members chosen every second year, so they serve two-year terms by the people of the several states. So the people in this state will choose members to go to Washington to be in the House of Representatives. No person shall be a representative, this is in Clause 2, who's not 25 years old, been a citizen for 7 years, and lives in the state that selects him. So those are the only three recommendations or qualifications to be in the House. Clause 3 says this: representatives and direct taxes shall be apportioned among the several states which may be included within this union. And then they're going to count the people in the states to determine how many people live in each state, because the membership in the House of Representatives is determined by population of the state. So every 10 years we will have a census, which is provided for here in Clause 3. It says you're going to count the people every single 10 years to find out how many people we have in the state. And then it will determine how many members we have in the House of Representatives from our state. In Texas, this year, we are actually in the last census in 2010, Texas, because of our huge population increase, got 4 additional representatives. And so we're going to have 36 representatives representing us in Congress. Every state has at least one representative. Rhode Island is a very small state, and they have 1. We're a large populous state. We have 36. So this is what is happening. There are a total of 435 members in the House of Representatives, and that number was frozen in about 1911 by Congress because it just got too big and unwieldy. So the total number in the House of Representatives in Washington is 435. Of the 435, Texas gets 36. California, 53 or so members. So Rhode Island, 1. So as you can see, then each member will represent a district which is drawn by the state legislature of each particular state. Clause 5 says, as you're reading down, the House of Representatives shall choose their Speaker and other officers and shall have the sole power of impeachment. All right, moving on, we talk about the Senate here in Section 3. The Senate of the United States shall be composed of 2 senators from each state chosen by the legislature of that state. So each state has 2 senators. This is one of the compromises at the Constitutional Convention that you may remember. So Texas, a large state, has 2 senators. Rhode Island, a small state, has 2 senators. Okay? And they were chosen originally. The people would elect the state legislature, and then the state legislature would elect the 2 senators from that state. But in 1913, we amended the Constitution. And you see here I wrote in 17th Amendment. And if you go to the back of the Constitution, and you go back, that's where all the amendments are, which change the body of the Constitution, you will find Amendment 17, which says this: the Senate of the United States shall be composed of 2 senators from each state, elected by the people thereof for 6 years. So in 1913, we sort of democratized this activity, and the people now directly elect the members of the Senate. So every 6 years we will have another senator coming in. Actually, they're on a rotation, so they're not elected at the same time. All right, to be a senator, on Clause 3, you have to be 30 years old, been 9 years a citizen, and live in the state that selects you. Clause 4 says the Vice President of the United States shall be President of the Senate. Now, normally the Vice President is over here in the executive branch, but they gave him the job to also be President of the Senate. Clause 6 says the Senate shall have the sole power to try all impeachments. And you may have remembered when that happened, President Clinton was impeached by the House, and he was tried by the Senate but not convicted. Let's see here, Clause 7, judgment in cases of impeachment shall not extend further than to removal from office and disqualification to hold and enjoy any office of honor, trust, or profit under the United States. But the party convicted shall nevertheless be liable and subject to indictment, trial, judgment, and punishment according to law. Now, the reason that the Senate can't do more to you in a Senate trial if they find you guilty and convict you of the impeachment charges is because the Senate is part of the legislative branch. It would be the judicial branch that would have to convict you in a court of law and sentence you for punishment. The rights of members. Section 6, Clause 1, the senators and representatives get a compensation for their services to be ascertained by law, meaning they set their own salaries. And members of the House and Senate today get about $174,000 per year. No senator can be have another job. That's in Clause 2. And then Section 7 deals with legislative powers, bills, and resolutions. All bills for raising revenue shall originate in the House of Representatives. This any kind of tax bill or spending bill has to originate here. Remember, bills have to go through the House and be approved by them, and then the same bill has to go through the Senate and be approved by it so that it can then go to the President. That's part of the checks and balances, as you may remember. Section 7, let's see, that's all bills for raising revenue. And then Clause 2 says, every bill which is passed the House and Senate before it becomes the law is presented to the President. And Clause 2 talks about the veto. It talks about passing a bill over presidential veto. And so that is a little bit about what the Constitution sets up in the Congress of the United States. If you look at your Constitution, the part in the Constitution here is this part, and all of these little boxes over here are commentaries on what is in the text. So the Constitution is really a very short document. I would suggest certainly that you read it for yourself carefully and look at the commentary and look at the annotations about each part. So we'll see you for the next mini lecture which will continue and deal with the powers of Congress. Have a good day.